Today, I want to talk about a trap that I fell into early in my career and one that I know many pharmacists struggle with as well. And that's the trap of measuring your financial success by your income. Now, on the surface, income feels good, right? It's the six-figure salary or multiple six-figure salary for many households that our team works with. It's the validation of the years of training that you put in. It's the proof that all of the hard work has paid off. But here's the reality, and you know this just as well as I do, is that income is a vanity metric. It looks nice, it feels nice, but it doesn't actually tell you the story of whether or not you're making financial progress. What really matters, on the other hand, is net worth. And that's what I'm going to unpack on today's show. All right. So, as many of you have already heard me share at one point or another in the last 8 years of the YFP podcast, back in 2012, this would have been 4 years after I graduated from pharmacy school, I had what I would call a financial wake up call. And that's really related to the concept of income versus net worth. I had just finished reading the book, The Millionaire Next Door by Dr. Tom Stanley. If you've never read it, I would highly recommend it. We'll link to it in the show notes. And one of the key lessons in the book was this, that millionaires or decamillionaires, as he talks about in the research, they don't measure success by income. Rather, they measure it by net worth. So based on that book, I sat down to calculate our net worth for the first time. I remember getting out that piece of paper. I folded it in half. On the left-hand side of the paper was the assets column. On the right-hand side was the liability, right? Net worth is assets, what you own, minus liabilities, what you owe. And at the time, there wasn't a whole lot to show on the assets column, right? Despite making a good six-figure income, as most pharmacists do, our net worth, as we would see on that piece of paper, was negative $225,000. And as obvious as it was when I could see the laundry list of liabilities led by our $200,000, my $200,000 of student loan debt, our mortgage, we didn't have a whole lot of equity in the house at the time. We had a car loan at the time as well, right? There was an obvious calculation, assets minus liabilities. But what was mind-boggling, or at least could have been if we didn't kind of wrap our mind around exactly what was going on, is that we had earned about $500,000 of income up until that point, but had a net worth of negative 225,000. Very common for many pharmacists such as myself, as we were just getting started in the few years after graduation. But that calculation was really a significant turning point for us. It shifted the way that we thought about money. And in particular, it shifted the way that we thought about our income and whether or not that was a measure of financial success. And one of the transformations, the mindset shifts that happened through that was we really stopped asking, how much are we earning? Although that's a really good question. And we started asking instead, how much is sticking, right? How much is sticking? Because that's what net worth, assets minus liabilities, is measuring. And that ultimately, as we talk about in the book, Seven Figure Pharmacist, that's a much better financial vitals check of our overall trajectory and our overall financial health. And so from that point forward, we began tracking our net worth every single month. We still do it to this day. And it's become one of the most important habits in our financial plan because it keeps us focused on what is actually working, on what's sticking in terms of our assets and any progress that we've made over the years on our liabilities. Now, why is net worth the better measuring stick, right? One of the reasons is that when you look at your income, especially for many pharmacists, income is linear, right? And it also can come in, and if we're not careful, it can go out just as quickly. It reminds me of revenue in a business, right? It's impressive on paper, but it doesn't tell the whole story. You can have a business that has $1 million of revenue, but if they have $1.1 million in expenses, obviously that business isn't profitable. The same can be true when it comes to our income on the personal side and our household expenses. Net worth, on the other hand, if we're thinking about and building for the future, it's potentially exponential. It captures, again, our assets minus our liabilities, and it reflects whether that income is being used, is being employed to accelerate the financial plan over time, right? It really recognizes the income as the tool, the primary tool that we're going to have to be able to accelerate and grow our net worth. And yes, I get it, right? Tracking net worth can be uncomfortable. especially if you're doing this for the first time. It forces you to really look into the mirror and see whether the habits that we're employing in the financial plan are what we want and are moving the needle for where we want to go. Four reasons why I think tracking net worth is so powerful. Number one is that it really shifts your mindset. I've alluded to that already on the show, right? Tom Stanley, in the book The Millionaire Next Door, he talks about this when he says that the reason that millionaires have made the progress that they've made is that they often are thinking differently. They have a different approach, a different mindset to how they view progress, how they view their expenses, right? Millionaires, decamillionaires, they think differently. And I think tracking net worth changes the conversation from month to month, which is how we can often be viewing things when it comes to our income and our expenses. And it really focuses our mindset on long-term wealth building, right? That's a significant mindset shift as we get out of the month to month. Still important. We've got to plan month to month, but we lift our head up and we begin to think about the long term. So that's number one, is it shifts your mindset. Number two is I think it really can have the potential to build momentum. And we all know how important momentum is in the financial plan, right? When you're grinding through various seasons, whether it might be paying off six figures or more student loan debt, or perhaps catching up on retirement savings, saving for a big purchase, whatever it might be, right? Cash flow in those seasons can feel tight and it can feel like a grind emotionally. But watching your liabilities go down and your assets grow over time can provide some of the motivation to keep going, right? That's the value of building momentum in the financial plan. Number three is it regrounds you in your financial plan. And you can see how these are interrelated, right? Net worth is like your compass. It can remind you to tighten up when that's needed, but it can also give you the permission to loosen the reins and enjoy life when you're on track. And that's something we don't talk enough about, right? At some point, as we look at our savings goals, if we look at the progress that we've made, net worth and looking at our overall trajectory sometimes can give us that permission that we need and are looking for, as we know other goals are on track, to make sure that we're prioritizing living the rich life today as well. And number four is it really, really clarifies the difference between assets and liabilities. Rich Dad, Poor Dad talks about this. Robert Kiyosaki, the author of that book, really getting clear on our understanding and the difference of what truly is a wealth building, ideally exponential growing asset, and what is a liability. And what tracking net worth does is it teaches us that what builds wealth and what holds us back, right? It allows us to view that on a month-to-month basis. And it really also highlights that not all assets and not all liabilities are created equal. And that becomes clear as we begin to look at that on a month-by-month basis. You can have two different people that both have a net worth of $3 million, but where those assets are and in what type of tax efficiency those dollars are saved and how ultimately those are going to be distributed might be very, very different, likely will be very different. And so here's my encouragement for you all today. And it's a reminder to me as well, right? To stop measuring success by income alone. Again, income is a valuable tool. It's the shovel that we have to work with. It's our primary tool, but it's really net worth that tells us the true story of the progress that we're making. And so if you've never calculated your net worth before, start today. And if you've done it before, make it a regular habit, just like we do every single month. That habit has been one of the most important drivers of our own journey, going from negative $225,000 back in 2012 to achieving financial independence.